Hello everybody and welcome back to Atraitus, where we currently have a souped up planet visitor here, ready to hopefully get some nice heat shielding done. So at this point, what we need to do is we need to change where our periapsis is. I'd like to move that to be like over here. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of radial burn to make that happen. So other direction. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit much here. We're going to need to bypass that a little bit and do... Yeah, I think radial burn ultimately is the only real way to do this. So we're going to need to bring this guy down to about 920 kilometers. And I want to change the exact positioning of this. So really what I think we need to do here, actually, is we need to circularize this. So I'm going to come around to the periapsis, and I'm going to drop our apoapsis down to a very, very circular amount. 931 should do the trick. So we're going to go ahead and do that. As you can see, we did fully recharge the batteries. Why are you tumbling like this? Can you not? Lock, plan, burn. Okay. That was very awkward. I think we're technically slightly within the atmosphere at this point. That's okay. Let's see where this puts us. This is good enough. Okay. Also, apparently our cursor was stuck. Sure. So at this point, I want to move ourselves over to lock velocity retrograde. And we're going to need to turn on our gyroscope. That will help matters. So I don't think we're going to be coming back here, to be clear. Are we in atmosphere, technically? Technically, the answer is no. So I'm going to come up over this way. We're going to plan a burn there, and we're going to bring this down to about 900 kilometers. This is good enough. So let's go ahead and execute that. We're technically not in atmosphere at this moment, so that's absolutely fine. We're going to light up these engines very briefly. Okay. How much DV do we have left at this point? This is claiming 8.76 meters per second. This is not true, of course. We need to fill this tank and drain from this tank. There we go. So we have a lot more delta V than this. It's fine. We've got a fair amount of fuel left. We're going to burn that fuel soon enough. For now, let's bring this on down. I'm going to stow these solar panels. We are probably not coming back out of the atmosphere. So what we've got is what we've got at this point. And 10x is the best we can do on our warp. Okay. So we're in atmosphere at this point. And at this juncture, what I want to do is I want to just advance forward until such a time as we're in full light and our time to periapsis is beginning to increase, would be the idea. Then we want to burn off the remainder of this fuel. That's the concept here. So we see that time to periapsis is dropping at this moment. We are not in full light at this point, but we're on our way around. And we can see our surface velocity 6245 at this point. Our apoapsis hasn't changed very much, but we're going to drop relatively deep into this atmosphere. So that seems good for now. So we're down to 24 minutes to the periapsis. This is the fastest we can warp right now, so that seems okay. Our apoapsis still hasn't changed, but our periapsis went down to 900. Can we not? Get rid of that planned burn. I just want to be on retrograde. Thank you very much. Okay, so that looks good. So about 20 minutes to periapsis at this point. Our apoapsis has dropped to 929. This is all looking fine for now. We're going to burn off the remainder of this fuel once we're very close to the periapsis. We are in pretty much full light at this point, so I feel like we could make that burn now, but I kind of want to wait a little longer. Burning this fuel off around the periapsis is going to be better for us, I think. So that seems reasonably fine. Did we put heat shield on the engines? We did not. Nor did we put heat shield on this fuel tank. Okay, that's noted. So that's looking fine. We are currently about 13 minutes away from the periapsis here. And let's just continue holding this attitude. Periapsis is currently 899 kilometers. And the apoapsis, 926. We're now about 11 minutes from the periapsis. Again, this is the fastest we can warp right now. So we're just holding attitude here. 10 minutes to periapsis. Beautiful. Apoapsis is down to 924, with that periapsis still chilling at 899. So we're very, very close to the periapsis in altitude at this juncture. So that's looking good. We're definitely seeing our surface velocity increase still as we approach the periapsis here. So that is noted. 922 on the apoapsis. So we're experiencing small amounts of drag right now. It's not tremendous, and there's a lot of mass in the fuel still, which is one of the reasons why I want to dump the fuel, is to reduce our overall amount of mass. So we're about 3.5 minutes away here. In terms of our burn time, 37 seconds, and then this is a lot more. I'm going to start up this burn, I think, right about now. I just want to burn off this fuel. So let's get that done. The higher up we do this, the better. These are vacuum optimized engines. So let's just get that over with at this point. We can see that periapsis nice and low. And we're at about 30% fuel on our big tank at this point. You can see our craft mass dropping. It's going to get down relatively low here. And that will, of course, increase the efficacy of drag here. Cool. There we go. So that's all done. Next up, we're going to jettison that. And once again, this is a little awkward. Let's just do that. There we go. And lock our velocity retrograde. So we've got this heat shield here, right? And this heat shield is providing us a fair amount of drag force, and we don't need to have this open anymore. So we need to keep an eye on this, and when this heat shield is getting close to maximum temperature here, or rather, not maximum temperature, close to no heat shield, we want to, at that point, like when it starts building up damage, we want to jettison it, is the idea. So we're going to let that build up, and as we can see here, we are building up speed right now. That's noted. Okay, that heat shield is indeed dropping right now. The question is 2 of these at twice the amount of heat shield going to be enough? We can always stack more on if we need to. We're now down to about the amount of original heat shield. I'm taking it off of 10x at this moment, and you can see we are slowing down at this juncture. Okay, so we are about done with heat shield. And down to 500, 400, 300, 200, 100, jettisoned. Okay, so that exploded, and now we're on this heat shield. You can see the temperature building up very, very quickly. I don't think these 2 heat shields are going to be enough either, to be honest. This is a crazy amount of heat buildup. We are slowing down. No doubt about that. This temperature is beginning to drop. But it has a long ways to go. We have no additional stages, so this heat shield is just going to have to burn off if we run out of heat shield here. But we'll see what that does up over here. We can see that there's a little bit of heat shield on this fuel tank, so maybe this is enough. The temperature here is dropping, but it has so far to go. This is going to be very interesting. No doubt about that. We're still down to about... We still have about 1,000 heat shield here. But I don't think that temperature is dropping fast enough. I think that we're still going to burn up here, but this was really close. We're down below 4,000 Celsius. Or almost. We're now down below 4,000 Celsius. So this heat shield is taking damage. It goes boom, and we just immediately go with. So that's definite progress. No doubt about that. That is significant progress. I feel like we could make do with only one additional heat shield here. So I'm not going to only put one additional heat shield, to be clear. We're going to duplicate this interstage and this heat shield, and then we're going to do it again. And we're going to put in 2 additional heat shields. This should be sufficient, and I don't think we're going to run into height issues. We do have some height vertical headroom. Yeah, looks like we're still fine on that. So let's check our staging here. Get all of these open for the moment. And that looks good. 19, 12, 6. Yes, this looks correct. 6 here, that looks good. This interstage and these engines, that is correct. Then this interstage, then all of these are going at once. We need to separate these out, right? And we need to check the ordering on this. So it's going to be this interstage. So the first heat shield, then the second heat shield, then the third heat shield. And yeah, this is definitely a little out of order here. So I think this guy goes here. Is that right? These two flip around. So here, 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 here. Perfect. That looks ideal. So we're going to be bringing that. That's going to be a little extra mass, but it should be fine. I'm not too concerned about that. Let's go ahead and launch this thing, and this should be more than sufficient heat shield. This is going to double the amount of heat shield that we have there, and we know we were cooling down, so it should be relatively okay. Let's go ahead and launch this thing, and I think this is going to do the trick. I'm like 45% certain about that. So up we go. We are, of course, very jiggly at the very beginning. I have no idea why it does this. It's fine. It'll get over it. So we're going to take that right on up. I feel like we're better off to not fast forward until this is straightened out. But that does take a little while. For the moment, let's just continue to proceed through this. I'm fine with getting some velocity in this direction. It's not the worst thing in the world, so that seems fine. Our ground level altitude chilling at about 2 kilometers at this point. This is going to start smooth out between like 5 and 6. So that'll be absolutely wonderful. In fact, it's already looking a little bit better, but we're losing attitude out this direction. It's fine. It'll come under control. There we go. So let's take this up to 10x. Wonderful. And we'll ditch this outer shell. Most of it anyway. Seems absolutely okay. And the inner shell. And the center core shortly thereafter. Beautiful. And we'll deploy our solar panels. Not that they'll do much at this point. And of course, we'll need to just burn that apoapsis right on up. Now, our lateral velocity is a bit on the low side, I think, because of the particulars of that jittering that we had. So there is that. But it's not the end of the world, by any means. So let's pin this open so we can keep an eye on our fuel tank here. That looks good. Periapsis is looking absolutely fine here. And that apoapsis going to go right on up to 500. Yeah, this is about on par in terms of our fuel here. And we can warp on forward towards this apoapsis. So down to about 10 minutes remaining on this apoapsis. 4, 3, 2, and there we go. I wanted to come out of that before 45 seconds before apoapsis, because that is when we do our burn. So that looks great for now. We'll go up to 10x, and we'll just push that apoapsis right on up. And this is about where we expect it to be. Similar levels of fuel. It should be fine. We had some very inefficient wackiness in the last mission, so that shouldn't be a problem. At this point, what does a prograde burn out over here look like? We'll find out. I mean, that's a little too much. Something along the lines of this, but I think we're probably in a bad transfer window here. Yeah, that's a quite bad transfer window, to be honest. This is going to be a Atraitus impact, but we're not actually going to do that. So we're going to back this off. It's going to be a little less efficient. That's okay. It's not a good transfer window. Does not matter. Let's go ahead and execute this burn. Fantastic. After we're done with this burn, in fact, kind of right now that that burn has started, I'm going to turn off this guy. There we go. Because it burns a lot of juice, and we don't really want that. So let's go up to 10x. And we shouldn't need it online for a while here. We'll turn it back on later. We'll need it online in the atmosphere, but outside of the atmosphere, I don't think we'll need it. So it should be fine. Wonderful. So escape velocity is approaching here. We're about halfway there. Looks good. I'm just keeping an eye on our fuel tanks. Should be relatively fine. Okay. So this burn is wrapping up shortly. As long as we escape, it's fine. We'll just warp out to the next event. There we go. And now I'm thinking, what if we were to burn sometime around here and bring this right on out this direction, right? Well, timing isn't exactly ideal. Let's move this out over this way. Atraitus is kind of in an awkward location for us, but this doesn't look terrible. Bring that into like 1,000 megometers. Could maybe do a timing change on that. Okay, not the greatest timing change in the world. Maybe an inclination issue, but honestly, I think this is fine. Let's just go ahead and do it. This did not warp to the next node. It still didn't. Why are we not warping to this node? There we go. I don't know why I had to click that like 4 times. Sure. I guess it's fine. Cool, so that's going to be a 4.8 minute burn, and we're going to burn a pretty decent amount of our drop tank fuel, which is absolutely fine. We do not mind that in the slightest. It's exactly what this drop tank fuel is intended to be used for. So we might be going retrograde here. I don't really care all that much, I don't think, if we are going retrograde. Let's see, it goes this way, I believe, and we're going to be going this way. So yeah, that's probably retrograde. That is going to have an effect. We can see about flipping that around. Coming in prograde out over this way. I'm just thinking here about the directionality. It's mostly going to be a timing issue in that regard, right? But I don't think it matters all that much. Let's just do this for now. Let's warp up to the next encounter. So we're going to head on up over here, and we're keeping our electricity nice and high this time. And yeah, we're in a bit of an inclination here. No doubt about that, but it doesn't really matter. I want to plan a burn at the periapsis, and we're going to just circularize that on up. Now, we could flip direction here. I'm wondering... Prograde, retrograde probably doesn't matter that much with Atraitus, right? Is this tidally locked? I don't even know if it is. It probably doesn't matter all that much. So let's just bring this into circularized at about 3,070 megometers. This is okay. There we go. And we'll commence that burn. So that's going to be another decent chunk of fuel here. Cool. We've got about 10% fuel remaining in our drop tanks, and this will absolutely do. So now at the descending node here, let's go ahead and get our inclination to something halfway reasonable. Our inclination is 124 degrees right now, and we're going to want to bring this all the way around. That's going to be a lot. So we're going to have to switch over to retrograde here, which is not surprising at all. And we'll get a good retrograde burn in here, bringing our inclination down nicely. Okay, so this is going to flip around, and that's absolutely understood. So this is going to need to be, you know, something kind of like this. Our inclination is currently like 2 degrees here. We need to actually back off on this. I've overshot that. Okay, so this is going to be like 0.75 degrees. That's okay. I don't mind that. So we'll go ahead and execute that. That's going to be 477 meters per second. And then we're going to also bring in our periapsis a decent chunk. It doesn't really matter where we decide to do that. Okay, so let's get our inclination flipped right on over. We've got about 8% fuel left in our drop tanks. And let's see if we've got enough in our drop tanks for the inclination change alone. 3, 2, and yeah, we did. So that's wonderful. About here, let's go ahead and bring this periapsis on down. This is going to be the expensive burn, as per usual. Let's turn up the sensitivity a wee bit. Actually, this is not the expensive burn. It's the braking burn up here that's going to be expensive. So that is absolutely fine. We'll just bring this guy right on down to roughly 1,000 kilometers. We don't need to aero brake it, so we can just do this. Actually, we know we're relatively fine at like 930, right? So I'm going to set this at 940 kilometers. Let's turn the sensitivity back down at this point and set it right there. There we go. So we'll go ahead and execute that burn. And off we go. We're going to be ditching these drop tanks momentarily. We are almost out of fuel for them, so there's no point in carrying the mass. We've got a pretty decent amount of fuel left, but burn time is getting lower here. No doubt about that. And off they go. Fantastic. So now we can see we've got 1.7 kilometers per second in this. That should be reasonably fine. We're going to burn through all of that, I think, in our braking burn, but we expect that we're going to have additional burn time here. So 939, that sounds great. At this point, at the periapsis, we're going to want to commence a burn here, and accuracy might be a little spicy. We'll see how that feels. 939 is a decent target here, so we'll just circularize that right on up to be right about here. My main question, though, is how much DV do we have in our upper stage here? I think it's enough. This is good enough here. So 2.57 kilometers per second. In this, we've got 1.63, so we need a little bit under 1 kilometer per second up here. I think we have that. Let's go ahead and make this burn. There we go. And that's going to be a relatively lengthy burn here. We'll just bring that guy right on down. Now, we could use aero capture for this, but that takes longer, so I don't actually care to. As long as we've got the fuel, we may as well use it, right? So that's the idea here. So next up, we're going to be ditching this interstage and lighting up these engines. We're going to need to burn some of that fuel. Okay, there we go. And we're going to need to transfer the fuel from here, like that. Okay, so this is now not recommended. I'm going to cancel this burn from here, and I'm going to recreate this. So we're going to warp around past this periapsis. There we go. And I'm going to do this in a second pass from here. So 936 would bring us to, and this would be slightly over 1 kilometer per second. Okay. So we would need to get to somewhere around here, right? So that's a 14.7 minute burn time. I am not convinced that we should attempt that. I'm thinking we just arrow break it from here. So we would plan a burn at the apoapsis. We'd use this fuel to drop this down to roughly 900 kilometers, like this. But I'd like to change when that's happening, ideally. Circularizing this would be ideal. But I think we arrow break it from here. I don't think we have the fuel to drop this down from here. And this is, of course, because these heat shields, they're heavy, right? They're extraordinarily heavy. So if we were to drop this down, we plan a burn at the apoapsis here. We put this into arrow break, right? So we bring this down to, it's not going to require much. We bring this down to about 900 kilometers. This is now going to be arrow breaking. And then we burn the remainder of the fuel at this periapsis. This just guarantees that we are going to make it into an arrow break. So that looks good. Why are we not burning here? I don't know why we're not burning here. I'm manually burning right now. I guess I didn't press the button. Okay. This should be good enough. So 901 kilometers looks good. At the periapsis here, we are going to burn off the remainder of our fuel. I'd like to circularize this, ideally, at about 900 kilometers. We'll see if we have the delta V to do that, but I just wanted to make absolutely certain that we were going to get captured here, so we're doing it this way first. 939 meters per second we might have here. We'll see. So we need to lock to plan burn, and we should be turning this guy back on. Not you. Hang on. This is a battery. I want this guy. Yeah, we should turn you back on. I had the right thing selected, but I was looking at the wrong part. It's okay. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to perform this burn, and we're going to get ourselves into Atraitus. I feel confident that with this number of heat shields, we should be okay. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Andy McGard, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.